I'm Beatriz Rodriguez, the director of the North Carolina AgrAbility Partnership, and I thank you all for being here today. Today's session is going to be about assistive technology in farming with Bill Bagley, the director of sales of Life Essentials.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be able to participate in this webinar. Thank you, Betty and North Carolina A&T and the National AgrAbility Project for asking us to come and share our story with you on how we can help impact those people that you serve in your communities so that they can continue to do what they love to do. So we're going to start out with a PowerPoint presentation. Some slides shows some of the equipment that we do. A little bit about Life Essentials first is Life Essentials has been around for about 30 to 35 years. Started as a project working with Dr. Bill Field at the Breaking New Ground here at Purdue University. And one lift has now led to thousands of lifts that have been out there to help people, like I said earlier, continue to do what they love to do. It's important that they live their passion. We continue to strive to give good quality and safe solutions to a person's mobility issues based on physical limitations, type of equipment. We do a tremendous amount of custom work because in most cases, not everybody is the same, and we have to adjust to that end user each time. Life Essentials, that is us. We make ag equipment safer and more accessible. We want to make sure that secondary injuries don't become part of getting in and out of the equipment that the people want to use. I'm going to show you some slides of different types of lifts. We have seat lifts on combines. This will accommodate amputees, paraplegics, quadriplegics, or even just folks that have very limited mobility capabilities. So you can see that it mounts on the ladder portion of the combine. It is attached up on top for a little stability. They can transfer from their mobility device onto that seat. It raises them up, and then it will, with a remote control, it will articulate them into the operator's seat of the equipment. Just another example here. We'll put them on red machines, green machines, yellow machines, any type. We'll figure out a way to make it work. So you can see this gentleman is entering into the cab. Again, it's radio controlled. He has control of the device. It does lift them up quite high off the ground, so we make sure we have a safety belt. Some cases we have a little different seat construction. We'll put a 4-point harness on if necessary. So we want to accommodate that individual user and keep him or her safe. And we'll do the same thing on tractors. The same type of lift system, a little smaller scale, but again, it's to keep them safe and get them that access. You can see the gentleman sitting in the chair there. That's Hubert von Holten. Hubert started Life Essentials. Hubert himself suffered had polio at an early age. Showed no mercy from his dad and his mom. He had to do the same things that his brothers did. So he's always been pretty driven and pretty innovative, and was a driving force on the design and implementation of the lift systems that we have. It's another gentleman getting into an open station tractor. Obviously, it's a little easier to do that. If it had a cab, it's just a little bit more difficult, but the open stations are pretty easy to get a person up into. There's a happy end user right there. He's giving us a thumbs up as he's getting ready to transfer over to his operator's seat. And he's back in his fields. We have platform lists for combines, and these are people with arthritis, hip or knee replacement, MS, polio, prosthetics, etc. The gentleman in the snapshot there is a local farmer here in our area who had fallen. I believe it was getting up in a grain bin, and he fell, and he has recovered now, but we were able to give him a lift so that he could finish harvest that particular year and make his life a little bit easier. So there's another platform lift. We mounted a little different on this tractor, or this combine, I mean. Again, here's one on the John Deere. You can see it's just a basic elevator lift to take them from the ground up to the platform itself. Another happy end user, the thumbs up. Um, this reminds me of a gentleman up in Wisconsin. The first time I was involved in any type of an installation, actually prior before I made a commitment to come to work with Life Essentials and help them in their sales end of things, that the gentleman in Wisconsin had suffered flesh-eating bacteria had gotten into his leg. He thought he just had the flu, went to the hospital. They called a surgeon in, and surgeon said, you've got two choices. One, we remove your leg above the knee, or within 24 hours, the funeral directors come in to pick you up. It's your choice. And that's how he explained it to us. And so we got him a platform lift. He has a prosthetic leg. We got it mounted on, asked him to move his combine. He did so. I went to pick him up in his UTV, and he had his back to me and just stood there when he came back on the ground for quite some time. And finally, I asked him if everything was okay. He turned around, and the gentleman was crying. He literally had tears flowing down his face that he could get back to doing what he loved to do. He didn't have to count on his neighbors, his family, friends. He said it made him feel a whole lot better that he could go back and provide for his family now after about 2 years of not being able to do so. So that particular event is what convinced me to change my careers and come to work with Life Essentials to be able to give back to people that are a little bit less fortunate physically. And it's been nothing but rewarding ever since. We'll do the platform lifts on tractors. Again, another gentleman that's happy as can be. And the other one's a little too busy. He couldn't give us a thumbs up there on the left side. But it's just amazing what just simple technology like this does for a person, for their psyche, their self-confidence, their self-worth stuff. It's just simply amazing and very rewarding. This gentleman was having a little trouble getting up and down. This guy was amazing. This young man, the toes of his shoes are pretty much worn off because he can't hardly stand up. He walks on his knees most of the time, and it was all due to severe arthritis. So even getting into a smaller scale tractor is a challenge for a lot of folks. And for him, we made a platform lift so that his life became easier and safer. So you can see he's still on his knees and he gets himself up into the operator's position. Our signature product is our flatbed truck lift. It provides easy access to lots of different pieces of equipment. The video that I'm going to share with you here shortly will show you that lift being used. But it is radio remote control. It unfolds. The seat will come right into the cab of the pickup truck. The operator is able to transfer onto that seat. It reaches a maximum height of 12 feet off the ground, and horizontally away from the side of the truck, it will extend out 14 feet. And you can see in the corner of the bed of the truck there, down to the ground, there is a support leg to help with the torque or the twist, the load out on the driver's side of the truck to give it better stability. And we encourage everybody to use that. You see a gentleman getting ready to come out. And we've seen this used for a lot of different things. A person can actually perform maintenance. They can pull the covers up on the sides of the combines and get in there and do some grease work and check belts and wiring, etc. We have people that have used it for a lot of things, cleaning gutters, changing light bulbs, hanging Christmas decorations. I had one gentleman pick the deer up out of the field with his up in Wisconsin, proudly showed us the pictures. So you can see it's extending the person right. The feet do not have to touch the ground. Go from the seat of the pickup truck right to the seat of the piece of machinery here. There is a snapshot of them actually doing some maintenance checks from that seat. The Journeyman scooter, this is what Hubert, if Hubert is not in his bed, in the car seat, he's in his Journeyman scooter, sometimes for 12, 14 hours a day. But it does get you around on the farm and into your home and shop. We do build this particular unit at our shop from scratch. It was a design that Hubert came up with the help of 2 or 3 other folks. See, we make adaptations to it, had a side plow made for it to be able to get the forage up closer, the hay closer to the cattle when they kick it out of the bunks. It will raise up. It is narrow. It's only about 25 inches wide. It's durable. So we have this gentleman's welding out of his. We do have a snow blade for it. If any of you folks down south would like to have snow blades, we can. I did get a snow blade placed down in southern Georgia. The odds of snow there is very limited, but actually the gentleman was using it in his chicken operation to scrape the wood chips and keep it more level in there. So that little chair does have a lot of torque and a lot of power, and it's been used in some other operations. You can go in some water. This picture was after, unfortunately, Hubert had lost both of his legs. And he would, if he was here today, he'd tell you that it's okay because his feet don't get wet now. But it's a pretty durable piece of equipment. There he is with his 3 dogs. He's out sightseeing. And it's allowed him to help keep his world big, as you can see by these pictures. That's one of our favorite pictures right there. Hubert and Idabel in the Grand Canyon. We do offer a running board lift. The lift attaches, this one here, we modified or we made our own platform for the running board itself. The person needed a wider than what we can get retail, so we did custom make the platform. The running board will go down to the ground. It is radio controlled. You stand on it and it will raise you back up to normal running board height. There's one that we've a couple pictures here. You see it was down, now it's up. We have put pedestal seats on them. If somebody does have a little issue standing, we'll put a little pedestal seat that snaps in there, and then once they get up, they can slide off and pull the pedestal out and put it in the vehicle with them. And we can put these on pickup trucks, SUVs. We've done grain trucks. We try to make them adapt. We actually just did a project on a Kubota UTV where we were able to use the running board lift system to help the person access his Kubota UTV. Happy customers, that's our goal. Happy and safe. There's the removable seat post. We don't have to use a bucket seat like that. We can just use a nice oak board or a piece of aluminum to make it a little bit lighter if a person doesn't need that extra support. And then it's in the up position and it's ready to go down the road. We do put lifts on motorhomes. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but there's a lot of people out there with motorhomes and travel trailers. The other thing that I share with you on this is we have recently started to adapt this lift system to smaller tractors that don't require the big heavy mass that we use on the large tractors. We've been able to use this type of system right here, which doesn't take up as much space. And then the other important part of it is the cost of this particular system is about 1/3 of the cost of the heavy agricultural industrial style lifts. So on the smaller compact tractors, we've been able to start to use this type of a lift system. We'll kind of buzz through these. We are able to pick up person and their chair at the same time. We've done this a few times. Again, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we do at our shop, we're not limited to cookie cutter type things. We do a lot of custom work. And the folks at the shop are just really good about listening to the customer, looking at the equipment, and working with the counselors, the AgrAbility folks. I didn't realize we had this many RV lifts in here. Kind of makes you want to go travel, maybe. Satisfied customers. Obviously, that's our goal. We want them to be happy. We want them to be safe. And we want them to get back to doing what they love to do. We do have a lift for the home. Now we've incorporated this lift out in garages and pole barns, out in shops. If a person has a zero-turn lawnmower, maybe a golf cart or a UTV, something, we can mount this type of a lift, perhaps in between the two of them, and they could access both pieces of equipment. So that's my slide presentation. We are Life Essentials. We're not at 8796 anymore. We moved 3 miles up the road into a brand new, it's about 2.5 years ago, into a new facility right along Interstate 65. It's allowed us to open up some things that we can do and to increase our productivity and our efficiency. So if you need to contact us, the phone number is the same. It is lifeessentialslifts.com is our website. I encourage you to go there. You can also go out to YouTube, and if you typed in Life Essentials truck lift or Life Essentials running board lift, there are some videos out there on YouTube that you can view our products. We did a project with Wide World of Business with Kathy Ireland a couple of years ago, and it was on Fox Business News. It was on Bloomberg International. We got inquiries from Sweden, Finland, Brazil, Colombia, Israel, and India that I'm aware of after the thing aired. So we've been able to reach out, and each time we do that, we promote AgrAbility, because I do believe AgrAbility should be a global event, not just a national event. It should be a project that's around the world. And I know there's been some collaboration on that, to the best of my knowledge. So I'm going to share a video. This is done, this is Eric Beckman and his family. We have his permission. This is about 5 minutes or so of a 14-minute video, but talks a little bit about what we do. It does feature Rod Peterson with Nebraska AgrAbility. So give you an idea, if you're not real familiar with AgrAbility, of services that are provided. So I hope you enjoy this. And after this, I would be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
And the very people whose lives are being changed by this equipment.
Life Essentials has been solving mobility issues for the last 37 years and has created personalized solutions for a wide range of clients struggling with mobility issues. Life Essentials offers a wide range of agricultural mobility equipment and can modify their equipment to meet any client mobility needs.
My job as a rural rehabilitation specialist with AgrAbility is to go to the farm after a farmer or rancher acquires a disability, do the farm assessment, the on-farm assessment, and make recommendations as to what they need to do to get back to farming or ranching. That's what we did with Eric. It was obvious that accessibility was going to be a major milestone for him. And that's when we contacted Life Essentials to arrange a visit and find out just exactly what lift would fit his needs the best. And as it turns out, it's the what I call the flatbed lift that's manufactured by Life Essentials. And it's worked quite well for Eric.
I'm Eric Beckman. I'm 42 years old. My accident was 10 years ago. Life Essentials and AgrAbility, Nebraska AgrAbility, brought me back to life, and Kathy and Hubert and Rod made up a lift for me and brought it over and tried it out, and it worked out absolutely wonderful. I mean, I can't say enough how well it works. I'm in and out in about 5 minutes is all it takes, and I'm in there for 8 to 12 hours, and they take me out, and it's It's a life changer. You really don't realize half the time that you're even in a wheelchair or paralyzed, because it is so handy and how easy it does work. It makes you feel like you're, I guess, more normal.
Each lift is custom built to work beyond the limitations of the disability, and the goal of Life Essentials mobility equipment is to alleviate any feeling of being confined by a disability.
Life Essentials put the lift on the back of this pickup, and it opened all kinds of doors. I can't say how much I think of these people. Without them, it would not have happened.
The day that we saw him come across the field, our life changed and his did too. We still have those smiles and tears. That hasn't went away because of what he can do, because of that lift getting him in that combine and tractor.
It was awesome to see him get up in there and be where he was before. That made him happy, which made us all happy.
Life Essentials has established itself as one of the industry leaders in creating personalized mobility devices that are durable, strong, long-lasting, and designed to adapt to all weather conditions, performing the exact task being on a farm or in your home. Life Essentials has a mobile product for any special need. With a variety of different types of running boards for trucks, Life Essentials offers a solution for any type of unique need and provides personalized training for the equipment, changing the lives of people all around the world by providing solutions that get people back to work.
With the assisted technology, it has given me my life back. I'm a productive citizen now. With this scooter from Life Essentials, I can feed pigs, I can put the bucket there, I scoop the feed out to my sows. It's an all-terrain, so I'm not getting stuck. It's not a cheap wheelchair that you can't get around in. The mud don't affect it. And then with the lift chairs that's on my equipment, provided me to where I could get back in farming.
The one piece of adaptive technology that's helped me the most, because I'm such an outdoor person, is my Action Track chair. I purchased mine about 2 years ago. I have the standing model, which allows me to take it out into the river and fly fish standing up, and do a lot of hunting, and we go camping and all the things that you love to do when you're in Wyoming. None of those would be possible without my Action Track chair. It doesn't have to be these huge adventures, but that Action Track chair has just made my everyday life easier. Anytime I leave the house, I'm either in it or it's hooked up to the back of my car, and so really could not enjoy life like I do without my Action Track chair.
Wow, what a powerful story. Beautiful.
Okay, we're back. So I hope that the PowerPoint presentation, the video that you just saw, gives you a good idea of the things that we do to try to help people's lives be better for them and let them continue again to provide for their families themselves and give them that self-esteem and smiles on their faces is the most important part.
Betty, this is Paul Jones. I was going to just ask a couple questions verbally, if that's all right. Bill, we saw the Action Track chair in a couple of the clips. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and how your guys are involved with that?
Sure. The Action Track chair is actually manufactured up in Marshall, Minnesota at Action Manufacturing. Tim Swenson is the owner. That chair, like a lot of the things that we see, was developed out of a need. His son suffered an unfortunate accident. I believe it was on a dirt bike, if I'm not mistaken. And he's a Yamaha power sports dealer, so he kind of saw the snowmobiles, the tracks, and just started putting things together and developed a chair for his son, and then another chair, and then another chair. And then it's evolved now to where they have a state-of-the-art factory up there. And I believe that it just went over chair number 5,000 that they have developed. It is an all-terrain type wheelchair. I call it an outdoor wheelchair on steroids. What you saw with Eric and that Ashley spoke about was the track stander. It does take a person from a seated position and will stand them up. The chair is still operable while it's in the standing position. I have a case here in Indiana, two cases actually. One is a production welder that was welding from a manual wheelchair. we worked with vocational rehabilitation here in Indiana. They funded the chair for him, and he is on a production line as a welder, and his efficiency obviously went up, and his feeling about himself, being able to stand up, not have to sit down in a chair and people stand above you speaking, has great value to it also. And then I have another gentleman that was a fleet manager on a bunch of utility trucks. And it's kind of funny there, 2 weeks after I delivered the chair, I stopped by to see how he's getting along, and two of his employee mechanics stopped me at the door, and they were threatening me because now all of a sudden Kevin could be right up there in their face and checking out what they're doing to kind of get a little bit more involved in it. So there's a lot of benefit to it, but it is an amazing piece of technology. They are about 40 to 42 inches in width, so getting them through a standard 36-inch door is impossible. But they do have another version that is 30 inches wide, and that's opened up a lot of avenues for a lot of people there, all the way from children on up to a person of any age. And they do have a standing model for people up to about 5'6", 5'7" for that particular chair. So the track chair, there's a lot of accessories you can get with it. I know we've worked with vocational rehabilitation, not only here in Indiana, but the dealers across the country have been introduced to Voc Rehab, and they've been placing chairs on the farms and ranches to help people get around and do some things. So great piece of technology. Paul, thank you for asking that question.
Another question I had was, you mentioned several countries that had shown interest, and I know you've been talking to some people in Australia. What kinds of other places have you sent the lifts? And is there any restriction in terms of geography?
Well, geography doesn't limit us, because the people need the help. So we're going to reach out as far as we can go. The folks down in Australia, that was a little bit of a challenge because everything is on the opposite side. So we had to build the lifts to accommodate the right side standing behind the vehicle versus the left side here in the States. We've done that. We are in the process right now of working with another group in Australia for 3 individual lifts on tractors down there. We've done projects in Canada. We have sent stuff to England. We've talked with Sweden a few times. I haven't pulled the trigger there yet, but we try to work, and there's some restrictions. Some of the governments require other types of testing and stuff, and we work with them or the folks in that particular country to try and make it available. But we don't want geography to stop the people from being able to have access to safe and efficient equipment.
Wow. Bill, I would like to ask you something about Mr. Beckman. When on this lift, does he operate all that by himself?
Yeah, he does. I mean, the reason he didn't do it right there was everybody was standing there, so it was just he decided to have somebody else use the remote. But the remotes are very friendly. We have a couple different styles of remotes depending on the dexterity of the people, the function of their hands, to be able to push the buttons.
Okay. Yeah, because he is we have a client here, a new one, and he's also, quadriplegic and got a lot of, maybe we can look on him later about his particular case. But yeah, that's very nice that he can do that all by himself.
Yeah, and we encourage them to have people around, though, because you've always got to have a plan B. And if we give them a lanyard, because we've had people that have been 8 feet, 9 feet off the ground, and they drop the remote and they're out there by themselves. What do? They make sure you have a cell phone with you or a radio or something that you can call for some assistance.
Or someone else nearby.
Yes. Yep. And we've seen, one thing I'd like to mention is we've seen a lot of ways people have been getting into equipment. We've seen people sitting on the end of extension ladders, strapped down to the bucket of a tractor. We saw a boat seat attached to a hay bale spear with U-clamps. You'd have to kind of worry about getting upside down if the clamps loosened up a little bit on you. We had a gentleman over in Ohio that was took a wood pallet, put a 55-gallon plastic barrel on it, stiffened it up, cut the front out of it, put a milk stool in there, sat on the stool. His hired hand would raise him up with a skid steer loader and get him up to the door opening of his tractor, until one day the young man operating the skid steer could not hear the client yelling over the top of the skid steer that his foot had gotten caught between the pallet and the tractor frame, and it crushed his ankle. We've seen mobile home axle assemblies with one of the hubs in the ground and a lift or an arm welded onto the rim up above, and a 12-volt winch system with a sling, and get like pendulum motion going so he could swing close enough to grab the side of the tractor and then put himself in. We've seen all kinds of ways, and the reason for that is they want to do what they do, and they are so driven. Yeah, you know, people in agriculture are very, very driven people, and they will take shortcuts, and a lot of times it's the shortcuts that got them in the position that they're in, and we want to help them avoid that and make it safe for them.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Are there any funding sources for your products? Any nonprofits that are helping fund these assisted equipment?
You know, that's a great question. You know, I mentioned earlier about vocational rehabilitation, and in many, many of the states, that has been the primary funding source for this equipment. There is also there's some other organizations out there. I know if you're up in the upper Midwest, there's an organization up there. Yes, Farm Rescue. Thank you, Paul. You know, they say there's 3 things you lose as you get older. One's your memory, and I have a tough time recalling the other 2. But yeah, Farm Rescue has been good. They normally will do a grant type situation. $10,000 has pretty much been the most that we have seen from grants. So there's been some of the states where they've been able to work with vocational rehabilitation, pay part of the funding. Farm Rescue picks up part of it. And then sometimes the client, the consumer, has to have a little bit of skin in the game too. So, but there are some other organizations out there. There's a couple of organizations for veterans that we've recently approached that are kind of open to be able to help get accessible equipment to help them if they're starting their farming operation, or some type of a business enterprise to help support themselves and their family.
Thank you very much for that great presentation.